na kuhakikisha kwamba kuna mwelekeo ambao pengine marehemu Raila angeupendelea zaidi, ni kuona kwamba viongozi wameweza kukaa na kusikizana na kupanga kuangalia mwelekeo wa nchi utakwenda vipi. Almuhimu kupatikane amani, na ni kitu ambacho alikuwa amesisitiza sana. Kwa hiyo viongozi wakiwa wamejitokeza kuzungumza kusema kwamba waeke kando masuala yao ya upinzani na masuala ya kwamba ya kulumbana, waangalie kwamba ni njia gani muafaka inaweza kupatikana. Wakikaa pamoja waangalie namna nchi wanavyoweza kuiendeleza, hata kama wako tofauti na sera zao, wako tofauti na hoja zao. Hiyo isiwe ni shida, iwe kwamba watakapoleta ile amani na kuweza kufanya kazi pamoja, bado ile kazi ya kukosoana na kurekebishana itakuwepo. Ni muhimu sana hilo walitafakari, kwa sababu na ndio marehemu Raila Odinga aliyokuwa akipigania. Alikuwa hapiganii tu kwamba aingie katika serikali, anaingia kwenye serikali kuhakikisha kuna mambo muhimu ambayo yanatakikana kutekelezwa. Kwa hiyo kufanya kazi na serikali si shida na si ubaya. Hata kama bado una wazo tofauti, viongozi lazima wahakikishe wasiweke uhasama ambao utawafanya wananchi wabaguane, utawafanya wananchi wavurugane. Kwa hiyo ikiwa mwelekeo umetokea kwa upande huo kulingana na viongozi ambao wanazungumza, basi itakuwa ni mwelekeo mzuri kwa nchi kwa ujumla, na hata kwa maeneo ya Afrika Mashariki tutakuwa tumetoa mfano mzuri kwamba watu wanaweza kulumbana, naweza kutofautiana, lakini wakarudi wakaweza kukaa pamoja na kuhakikisha kwamba nchi haitakwenda njia mbaya.
Na asante Maimuna, na nafikiri kwa sababu ya muda uliosalia katika simu yako ya video nitakuwa na kuruhusu uendelee na shughuli zingine. Tutakuwa tunaungana nawe kwenye mida mingine kuendelea kujadili masala kama haya, na tunapoendelea kuomboleza kiongozi shupavu ambaye ametuachia pengo kubwa katika nchi na pia katika misururu ya siasa ambayo tunaendelea kuitafakari. Nafikiri itakuwa tuna mengi ya kuangazia tunapokwenda mbele. Asante sana Maimuna Mwidau ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masala ya siasa ambaye alikuwa ameungana nasi katika njia ya simu ya video ya Zoom. Daktari, tukiangazia baadhi ya masuala aliyozungumzia Maimuna na baadhi ya masuala aliyoibua pia vile vile mesha katika masuala ya chama cha ODM, labda msimamo, na pia katika shule ambayo anaizungumzia ya siasa ambayo ya Raila Odinga. Tumemsikia pia nafikiri rais akiwa anasema kwamba kuna mengi alijifunza alipokuwa karibu na Raila wakati ambapo alikuwa bado anaendelea kujikita katika masuala ya siasa. Unaweza kuzungumziaje kauli hizo?
Nashukuru. Kwangu naona kwamba mengi yamesemwa na wengi wamejifunza kwa siasa za Raila Odinga. Lakini kuna wengi ambao wametembea kwa kivuli cha Raila Odinga ambao watapoteza nafasi yao ya uongozi kwa kushikilia kwa koti lile ambalo Raila Odinga amelifua, na ndio hivyo sasa tunamuomboleza. Wengi watapoteza. Pili, ODM itashikilia kiasi fulani nguvu, lakini baada ya muda lazima tutatokeza viongozi wapya ambao watapatia ODM nguvu, kwa sababu hata kaimu ambaye amepewa nafasi hii anashikilia kwa muda fulani, na pengine baadaye viungo vya vyama wataweza kuketi chini kujadiliana ni yupi atachukua uongozi, na pale pengine ndio pengine tutaanza kuwa na mabadiliko fulani. Lakini ukumbuke kwamba vyama viko na wenyewe, na pengine swala hilo ambalo naguzia vyama viko na wenyewe huenda kikachochea chama cha ODM kujaribu kujenga msingi mpya. Kumbuka wakati walikuwa wanasherehekea miaka 20, ndio hivyo tumepoteza Raila Odinga wakati tunasherehekea miaka hii. Itabidi kurejea kule mashinani, hasa kwenye ngome zao, kuhakikisha kwamba wameunda asasi ambazo zinahitajika kushikilia ule uongozi, na pengine wakati huu ni wakati tena mwafaka wa William Ruto kuhakikisha kwamba vipi atawaleta wana ODM karibu zaidi. Mafunzo ambayo ODM imeleta, na ODM iko na wale ambao ni vijana wajibukizi, iko na wale ambao ni wazee. Huenda kwa ile generational change ambayo tutaona kwamba tutakuwa na vijana wapya, pengine kama ni wale Kenya moja ama wengine kama wajitokeza kama wanajama wa ODM kujaribu kusukuma agenda na msimamo ambayo baba amekuwa nayo, na wengi wa wananchi watakuwa wanatarajia ni yupi atazingatia filosofia ama atazingatia msimamo wa Raila Odinga katika masuala hii. Na pengine viongozi kama hao ambao wamelelewa na Raila Odinga wakijitokeza, basi wataweza kupata ufuasi ama uungwaji mkubwa kulingana na ile shule mwenzangu amesema, kwa sababu tatizo kubwa hapa ni kwamba ni nani atavaa viatu ambaye ni karibu na baba, na pengine hata wakati fulani niseme huenda asitoke Nyanza, huenda asitoke magharibi, pengine pengine hata kutoka pwani, kwa sababu yule ambaye itatokeza kimasomaso kwamba anasukuma filosofia ya Raila Odinga huenda ndio yule ambaye kiongozi ambao wengi watashabikia. Na baada ya kumzika, tukianza kutulia, pengine baada ya pengine mwaka mmoja hivi, tutaanza kujua ni yupi ambaye kiongozi tunaweza tegemea kwa wale ambao wanajitokeza.
Kwa hivyo nafikiri itakuwa ni dhihirisho la ni nani alikuwa kweli amelala darasani ama alikuwa macho darasani, kwa sababu tutaona dhahiri mafunzo hayo yanavyoanza kufanya kazi. Mesha, maoni yako ni yapi tunapoangazia haya?
Tutakapoelekea katika uchaguzi wa 2027 tutaona mabadiliko mingi katika vyama na wachezaji wakiswitch vyama hapa na pale. Yale nataka wananchi wa Kenya waweze kujua ni kwamba Raila aliweza kutrain wengi, si kwamba wale tu wako ODM. Watu kama akina Murkomen wamekuzwa, wamelelewa na Raila Odinga, ingawaje wakati sasa walikuwa wanaingia siasa kugombea kiti fulani wakaenda kwa sababu chama fulani iko na usawishi mwingi pale kwao, lakini wamesimama katika bunge, wamesimama katika podium tofauti wakisema kwamba sisi ni vijana Raila amekuza kisiasa. Tunajua watu kama akina Ababu na Mwamba wamekuwa katika kivuli cha Raila Odinga, wakasoma siasa, wakawa viongozi mashupavu, hata ingawaje wameenda kwingine. Hiyo ndio nasema kwamba wakati utafika 2027 haujui kama hawa wengine wataweza kurudi. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kosa viongozi. Ukienda Masaini unakota kina Ledama ni wanasiasa ambao wamekomaa sasa, lakini wamekuzwa na bwana Raila Odinga. Ali Hassan Joho alipatikana akiwa kansila, amekuwa mpaka waziri, amekuwa governor, ni waziri sasa hivi. Hao wote ni viongozi wamekuzwa na bwana Raila Odinga. So mimi kwangu naona ni kwamba wakati bwana Raila Odinga amelala, vijana wake wako wengi, wale wako diaspora na wale wako nyumbani, wote watajikusanyika waweze kusema sisi kama wanafunzi ambao waligraduate, si hata sisi mashule tulienda wakati mwingine alumni wanakutana. Si mkikutana mnasema wewe siku hizi uko wapi? Mwingine anasema mimi ni daktari na natibu watu kule kwingine, mimi ni mwanasiasa, mimi ni lawyer. Wakati tutakutana kama alumni wa ODM tutapata kiongozi.
Lakini tusikumbuke tu Raila kama mwanasiasa, alikuwa mcheshi mno na alituachia mafumbo mengi, na tunapohuzunika unapoangalia video za baadhi ya mafumbo ya baadhi ya akimba rege, masuala tu mengi yanakufanya uweze kumsherekea zaidi, na hata kukumbuka kwamba sio tu kuhuzunika, lakini pia ni kujua kwamba unaweza ukawa mwanasiasa, ukawa unapigania haki na unapigania misimamo ambayo ni ya kitaifa na ina mwelekeo wa kitaifa lakini na demokrasia, lakini pia ukawa unafurahisha watu. Kuzungumzia alivyokuwa mbele yake Raila, kwamba kila anapochukua kipaza sauti bila shaka tulikuwa tutajua tutacheka, tutatoka hapo na kitendawili ama tutatoka hapo na fumbo na masuala mengine ambayo alikuwa yanasisimua. Daktari.
Nashukuru dadangu. Baba Raila Odinga ni mcheshi, na baba Raila Odinga alikuwa ule kwa kimombo tunasema a great mobilizer, na also alikuwa a great orator, kumaanisha kwamba Raila Odinga alikuwa na njia ambazo angeingiana na mwananchi wa kawaida. Alikuwa na mvuto wa kusikiza ni vipi mwananchi wa kawaida anataka, na ndio hivyo unapata kwamba katika wakati ambao kuna tension ama kuna tatizo kubwa sana, alikuwa analeta vitendawili, ajaribu kueleza vitendawili kadha, kujaribu kuwafurahisha na kuwaleta karibu. Anawaambia kwamba tuna shida, najua mna shida, tunasononeka. Angeleta mafumbo, angeongea kuhusu nywele kutoka kichwa, nywele wapi, yani kujaribu kuona vipi angewavuta mwananchi wa kawaida awe karibu na yeye, ili aweze kumueleza ama kumchukua ile point ama anataka kuwasaidia waelewe ni wapi tunatoka na ni wapi anataka wananchi waelekee. Hata wakati fulani hapa angesema kwamba mimi niko na mke mmoja na watoto, wananchi wakasema hapana, wewe ni baba wa wengi, sisi wote hapa sisi ni wako. Kumaanisha kwamba yeye alikuwa ule ambaye anawaelewa, na tena alikuwa anakubali matakwa ya mwananchi wa kawaida kwa urahisi sana. Kumbuka wakati fulani walipokuwa kule kwenye baraza la mawaziri walikubaliana jambo fulani kuhusu unga, lakini baadaye jitokeza alienda kule Kibra akasema hapa unga lazima ipunguze hizo shilingi 100, kwa sababu yeye amesema ndio tumekubaliana kule, lakini nimefika mashinani wamekataa, wamesema unga lazima ishukishwe. Alitaka ku-identify na mwananchi wa kawaida, kwa sababu yeye vile nilivyosema hapa awali alikuwa na filosofia fulani ambayo aliona kwamba mbona taifa letu haliendelei jinsi mataifa yale mengine ambayo William Ruto anaongelea sana kuhusu Singapore kwa mfano. Sasa rais ukimwangalia baba alikuwa ule ambaye ana-identify, akiona kama mmensononeka, kwa sababu wakati huo watu wamekuja wamejazwa na hasira, wanaona kwamba baba mbona unakubali haya, basi angeleta ucheshi, ajaribu kuwapunguza yale makali, ndio awaelezee mwananchi wa kawaida msimamo wake na mtazamo wake, na ilimsaidia sana kuweza kufanya ile crowd management. Na ni jambo ambalo pengine wachache watajifunza jinsi ya kuweza kuwashughulikia wananchi wa kawaida na kuhakikisha kwamba wanasukuma agenda ya kisiasa.
Odede, unapozungumzia ucheshi wa marehemu Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga na tuangalie tu maumbile yake alivyokuwa, alikuwa anavutia wengi walimpenda, wao wanatoka maeneo ya Nyanza, wanatoka maeneo ya Pwani, na wakampenda kwa dhati, na sio kwa sababu kuna kitu wanapata kutoka kwake, lakini wakapenda maumbile yake na mtu na misimamo aliyokuwa nayo. Pia kidogo unaweza kutuelimisha kuhusiana na matawi ambayo tumeona waombolezaji wakiwa wanabeba kuanzia jana. Najua ni desturi ya kutoka maeneo ya Nyanza, na labda sisi tunaotoka Pwani na maeneo mengine tunatazama tukishangaa ni nini. Kuna baadhi ya vijana walikuwa wanalazimisha watu kuweka matawi kwenye gari zao jana kwenye baadhi ya maeneo ya Nairobi, na nafikiri lazima kuna jambo ambalo linatokana na kutaka kubeba tawi lile ama kuonyesha njia hiyo ya kuomboleza. Labda ukitufafanulia hilo, pia uzungumzie maumbile ya Raila kama alivyokuwa mcheshi.
Asante sana. Kwa ukweli baba alikuwa mwanaspoti. Na one thing baba alijua kabisa ni kusoma crowd na kuwa relevant kwa wakati huo. Kama amekuja kwenu na shida yenu ni maji, ataleta fumbo, ataleta ucheshi, ataleta kila kitu ambaye inalingana na ile mahitaji yenu. Hakuwa out of the context anywhere. Hata anapoenda matanga anaongea kuhusu yale mambo ambayo wananchi ambao wako hapo wanaelewa na wanajua. Kama jinsi ambavyo Biblia imeandika stories za Yesu Kristo alipokuwa anaenda kila mahali, kama amefika hapa na anajua nyinyi wavuvi, anawaambia mambo kuhusu uvuvi, samaki na nini. Akifika kwa wakulima anawaambia katika fumbo zake, anawaongelesha kuhusu ngano na vitu kama hizo. So baba alikuwa amemaster the game na alikuwa katika context kila wakati. But tunajua sisi wote alikuwa mwanaspoti hodari. Alikuwa anapenda football, lakini alikuwa ana embrace other sports. But football, baba alikuwa fan wa Arsenal damu. Every other time, wachache wetu tulikuwa tunapigiana simu wakati kuna mechi ile muhimu, tunaulizana umesikia Jacob anaenda kuwatch game. Tulikuwa na places mbili tu ana watch game, lakini hapo anapenda kuwatch game nyumbani. Alikuwa anapenda kuwatch game nje. So tukishapigiana simu tunajua atafika. Lakini sasa kuna jambo moja pia sisi wengine tumelani kwake. Wakati huo wote, hata kukiwa wakati wa shida sana kwa Arsenal, baba amebaki Arsenal fan number 1. Wapigwe wasipigwe, yeye alikuwa. Hiyo ni jambo muhimu sana. Msimamo. Ukipenda kitu unapenda. Wana Gor Mahia wanajua. Hata ingawaje vitu zinabadilika hapa na pale, wanajua fan wa Gor Mahia number 1 ni baba. Lakini sasa kwa sababu ya hiyo roho ya uspoti, baba hakuwa amebagua teams. Wakati wowote alikuwa anapatia Gor Mahia support, anapatia FC Shabana ama timu yoyote ambayo iko karibu. Sasa tuweze kujifunza hayo. La mwisho ni kwamba ulikuwa umesema tuongee kuhusu
njia ya kuomboleza.
Njia ya kuomboleza. Desturi yetu kama watu ambao wanatoka Nyanza na Western iziko karibu sana. Wakati mna kumbuka ama the period ya mourning kwa kiongozi ambaye mnaweza muita kama king katika area fulani, tulikuwa tunawazindikisha na matawi kama jinsi ambavyo walikuwa wanazindikisha Yesu na matawi na mitende na vitu kama hizo. So ni mara kidogo sana utapata kwamba watu wamekuja na matawi hivi. Si kila mtu, si kila funeral watakuja hivi. Lakini ukiona hivyo inamaanisha wamemweka katika kiwango fulani. Jinsi ambavyo desturi ya jamii ya Wajaluo, Waluya pia wako na hiyo. Kila kabila wako na desturi yao. But pia Africa generally utakuta kwamba wakati wowote tumepoteza mtu fulani ambaye tunamrecognize kama hero, mara nyingi tumemkaribisha nyumbani. Hata kama akiwa kwa jeneza tumemkaribisha nyumbani na matawi na mambo kama haya.
Kwa hivyo ni njia ya kumtawaza, kumheshimu, kumpandisha hadhi na kuonyesha kwamba ni kiongozi aliyekuwa na anaheshimiwa katika jamii.
Exactly. Sasa wale ambao wanaitwa kama Council of Elders, kwetu kuna ule anaitwa Ker. Sasa yeye hata habebi matawi, yeye sasa atabeba whisk ile baba alikuwa anatembea nayo akienda matanga fulani. Ulikuwa unamuona na fly whisk fulani akisema Joey.
Kwa hivyo
hiyo sasa the king ndiye anabeba hiyo, lakini nyinyi mnabeba matawi. King mwenyewe anabeba hiyo. Sasa watakapofika Bondo utaona Ker akibeba hiyo fly whisk, lakini wengine wote wanabeba matawi. Matawi pia ilikuwa inabebwa kwa ule king mwenye alikuwa anapenda amani. The peace inaonyesha the story of peace. Huyu alikuwa ameunganisha watu na alikuwa anapenda amani. So wakati mnamkaribisha mnabeba hayo matawi. Na najua daktari pia kwao it's almost the same.
Nataka kuongezea chochote? Nafikiri sisi tunaotoka kwenye jamii tofauti na maeneo mengine tunajifunza, kwa sababu kuna mtazamaji ambaye hayupo maeneo ya Nairobi na kule aliko labda watu wanaomboleza tofauti, hawabebi matawi. Lakini ni muhimu tunapokuwa tunaomboleza kiongozi anayetoka jamii ambayo ina desturi namna hiyo, tuifahamu vizuri na tujue kwa nini ni heshima ambayo inawekwa, na labda wale waliokutana na vijana waliolazimisha kuweka matawi kwenye gari wasihuzunike wakifikiri labda ni njia ambayo ilikuwa inawakandamiza, lakini kujua kwamba ni njia ya heshima na taadhima ya kumomboleza kiongozi. Kwa kutamatisha, labda kauli yako ya mwisho daktari.
Langu la mwisho tu ni kuomba vyombo vya sheria na serikali, hasa vyombo vya usalama, wajaribu kutia maanani mikakati kadha wa kadha, kwa sababu waombolezaji wako na hamaki na wengi wako na haja ya kumtazama mwili wa mwenda zake Raila Odinga. Na ni vyema kwamba vyombo vya usalama vitie mikakati fulani, kwa sababu kuna mambo ambayo tungependa yatokee, na hasa Kasarani, hata ikiwa kama ni wazi, lazima vyombo vya usalama vitilie maanani mambo kadha na wananchi wa kawaida waweze kuomboleza kwa heshima. Tuwasifanye mambo ambayo si ya heshima, ambayo itakuwa kinyume cha sheria. Na washukuru.
Mesha kukitamatisha,
ningependa tu kuambia Wakenya, wa Afrika na wale ambao pia walikuwa marafiki na wafuasi wa Bwana Raila Odinga dunia mzima, kwamba tuweze kuomboleza kwa amani. Na ingawaje Bwana Raila ameweza kuenda, spirit ya Raila Odinga will live. Itabaki ikiwa hai katika mioyo yetu, na lessons tumelearn zitabaki kumpatia heshima hata mahali atakapolala.
Bila shaka, asante sana mtazamaji. Huyo ni Meshack Odede ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya siasa, na pia vile nilikuwa nimemhusisha Daktari Luchetu Likaka ambaye naye ni mtaalamu wa masuala ya uongozi, na awali nilikuwa nimeungana na Maimuna Mwidau katika njia ya simu ya video ambaye ni mtaalamu wa masuala ya siasa na uongozi. Asanteni sana kwa kuja, kwa kujumuika nasi, kutusaidia kuelewa baadhi ya masuala na kutathmini baadhi ya masuala ambayo yanatusibu na kutuelekea mbele yetu kufuatia msiba ambao taifa unaendelea kuomboleza kwa kumpoteza kiongozi shupavu, mwamba wa kisiasa, marehemu Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga ambaye aliaga dunia hapo jana katika taifa la India, na kufikishwa hii leo nchini Kenya. Mwili wake ukatua JKA asubuhi ya leo, na msafara unaelekea katika makao ya kuhifadhi maiti ya Lee, ambapo baadaye shughuli ya kutazama mwili wa Raila itakuwa inafanyika katika uwanja wa Kasarani. Awali ilikuwa ifanyike katika bunge la kitaifa, lakini lakini kufuatia idadi kubwa ya waombolezaji ambao wamejitokeza, na hasa pia msafara wa wale waombolezaji waliotoka JKIA, na zaidi watu tu wanaendelea kutiririka pale katika kuweza kupata fursa ya kutoa heshima zao za mwisho, basi ikawa ni maamuzi ya hekima kutoka kwa ile kamati ya kushughulikia maandalizi ya mazishi inaongozwa na Seneta Oburu Oginga ambaye ni kakake marehemu Odinga, na vile vile pia naibu rais Kithure Kindiki, ambao wameamua kwamba shughuli ya kutazama mwili kwa wananchi itakuwa inahamishwa katika uwanja wa Kasarani. Na hapo kesho siku ya Ijumaa basi ni sikukuu ya kitaifa, ambapo tutakuwa tunaona ibada ya maombi ya wafu ya kitaifa ikifanyika katika uwanja wa Nyayo, itakaohudhuriwa na viongozi wa kitaifa na kimataifa. Na Jumamosi mwili wa Raila utakuwa unafikishwa Kisumu. Wakazi wa Kisumu wanapata fursa ya kutoa heshima zao za mwisho kuanzia saa 3 asubuhi hadi saa 9 alasiri jioni, na kisha msafara utakuwa wote unaelekea Bondo kufuatia barabara ambayo itakuwa bila shaka ina hisia nyingi na msururu na halaiki ya watu kusafirisha kiongozi huyo jembe wa siasa ambaye amelala, na tulimpenda lakini Mungu alimpenda zaidi. Matangazo haya na yarusha na kupokeza uskani mwenzangu Robinson Okenye, na muona amewasili studioni, atakuwa anachukua uskani na kuendelea kukufahamisha yanayojiri na kufuatilia matukio ambayo tunaendelea kuyaona na kuangazia tu yote na kutafakari yale ambayo yamesalia na masomo ambayo tumesalia nayo kutoka kwa kiongozi Raila Odinga ambaye sasa ni hayati, na tutakuwa tunaendelea kukujuza kila sehemu na kila hatua ya haya yote. Wanahabari wenzetu wamekita kambi maeneo mbalimbali kule katika msafara unaotoka JKIA, basi Vera Mora alikuwa pale na Chris Dairu wakiufuatilia kwa kina, na bunge tuna mwenzetu kule Daniel Kariuki ambaye alikuwa amekita kambi huko, lakini pia tutakuwa tunaelekea Kasarani na kuendelea kufuatilia matukio kule, na kule Lee basi Grace Nganga na Haman Kamariki wako kule kukufahamisha yanayoendelea kujiri kutokea msiba mkubwa ambao taifa unaendelea kuomboleza kifo cha Raila Odinga. Mtazamaji, nimekuwa wako hadi ya mwasiwa kufikia hapo na tamatisha taarifa hizi za yanayojiri na matangazo haya, lakini nakusihi uendelee kusalia katika KTN ambapo tunaendelea kufuatilia matangazo haya kukufahamisha yanayojiri, na tupoe sote manake ni msiba ambao umegubika taifa zima bila shaka. Hadi wakati mwingine, kwa heri.
Well, the procession of the body of the late Raila Odinga along Mombasa Road, they are almost approaching Cabanas, and of course we are closely, they are past Cabanas, and we are closely monitoring that. They are almost coming to the Imara Junction, and they will be heading straight to Nyayo Stadium, and from there they head to the Lee Funeral Home. And just a quick recap of what happened in the morning. The plane that was carrying the body of the late Raila Odinga touched down at JKIA at 9:30 a.m. And after that, it was supposed to be received by President William Ruto, but the numbers of people that turned out at the JKIA airport was too high, and they had to, of course, start the procession immediately. And thousands of mourners have turned out to, of course, in that procession to get a glimpse of what is happening. Thousands, of course, also have come out of their offices along Mombasa Road just to get a glimpse of what is happening. The procession, at least at the moment, moving slightly faster than what we had seen in the early hours when after the plane touched down at JKIA. At least now it's moving faster. Remember, there was a change of plans, and instead of the body being taken to Parliament, it will be taken to Kasarani Stadium. That is after it leaves the Lee Funeral Home. Remember, we'll be joining Daniel Kariuki, who is headed to Kasarani Stadium, where already a number of mourners have already gathered, and we'll be trying to get Chris Dairu, who's in that procession. We get to hear from him. Also, Grace Nganga is at the Lee Funeral Home. We'll be crossing over to her to get to see what is happening on the ground. And as you can see from the pictures, thousands have turned out to, be part of that procession of the body of the late Raila Amolo Odinga. And in this bulletin, I will be speaking to former Speaker of the National Assembly, Francis Ole Kaparo, as well as Amin Mwadimo and Kevin Osido. Will be taking a look at the legacy of Raila Amolo Odinga and what next after this. But remember, we also expect the state funeral to be held, the state funeral service to be held tomorrow. That is Friday 17th at the Nyayo Stadium, a day that has also been declared as a public holiday by the CS Interior Security Kipchumba Murkomen. So tomorrow is a public holiday, and the state burial will be taking place at the Nyayo Stadium. But at the moment, thousands of mourners have turned up along Mombasa Road, and they are part of that procession of the body of the late Raila Odinga that is headed towards Nyayo Stadium. And from there, they will be heading to Lee Funeral Home, and after that towards Kasarani, where the viewing of the body will be done. But I want us to speak to the former Speaker of the National Assembly, who's joined me in studio at the moment. Welcome to KTN, Francis Ole Kaparo. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Under the circumstances.
Yes.
It's a sad moment for all of us.
A sad moment, or definitely for the entire nation. Yeah. What is your first memory of Raila Odinga?
Well, the first time I met Raila Odinga was on the day I became Speaker. 23rd January 1993. That's when I was elected Speaker of the first multi-party parliament after the initial one collapsed. And I was escorted to take the oath of office by his late father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, alongside the late George Saitoti. And from that time on, the late Raila Odinga, was a member of the three houses I presided over as Speaker. The first one was 1993 to 1997, and then 1998 to 2002, and then 2002 to 2008. And he was a very prominent member of the House. I remember him as a person who was very principled, and a person you cannot ignore. You just can't ignore. His presence spoke even before he opened his mouth. And I know also that of the three houses that I presided over, members of parliament have, in a lot of instances, changed their loyalties without changing parties or without quitting the party that sent them to parliament. The late Raila Odinga, to my memory, remains the only one so far. I may be wrong, but I think that is what my memory tells me, is the only person I know who disagreed with his party and resigned to create another party and went for a by-election. That was the situation when his father died, and there was a wrangle as to who would succeed the late Jaramogi in Ford, Kenya. And the wrangle was between him, the competition was between him and the late Kijana Wamalu. And when the late Raila Odinga couldn't agree, he resigned from parliament, went to be re-elected on a new party, the National Development Party. I think it was called
NDP.
NDP.
Yes.
He was that brave. I mean, it hasn't happened before. And I don't think it has happened after. Today, we are watching with disbelief members of parliament who have completely changed alliances of their original parties, staying put in parliament, and without the bravery or the moral courage to leave and seek a fresh mandate. That speaks volumes for the person the country is mourning. I also know that the late Raila Odinga planned ahead. He planned ahead, and he was meticulous in every step he took. You would think he was doing nothing, but he was calculative to the dot. I know, for example, how he confided to me about what would finally happen in 2002 when he was Secretary General of KANU, and he wasn't agreeing with the decision of his party to front President Uhuru Kenyatta, as he now is. He was then Mr. or Honorable Kenyatta. Yes. Now he is President Kenyatta. That he would carry the flag for KANU, and yet there he was, Secretary General, with a clear ambition that he was going to run for the presidency, and he was bypassed. And he, confided to me that finally we will destroy this edifice called Kanu. But it will take time. We are not in a hurry. And you know, that's exactly what happened. He waited until very late, at a very appropriate time, to go public. I believe it was in Uhuru Park, to say Kibaki tosha. And that changed the whole game plan. And you know, that is the kind of person he was. You wouldn't ignore him. You wouldn't know what he is going to do next. And yet, he was there. And you can't ignore it. We are the poorer for losing him. Our country, whatever your political persuasion, whatever your ethnic background, we are poorer for losing Raila. And look at it this way also. When he stood as presidential candidate first time, he had only the backing mainly of the Luos, the first time he stood. Subsequently, his support cut across the entire country. Not so many people, alive or dead, would be able to do that. There are very few people who could reach that. Yeah.
Yes, also joining us is Kevin Osido. Good afternoon, Kevin. Good to have you here in studio. We were together yesterday, and it's good that you've exchanged salutations with the former Speaker of the National Assembly, Francis Ole Kaparo. Kevin, when you take a look at the pictures that we have been seeing along Mombasa Road, because we're expecting that procession will be almost approaching our office in a few minutes to come as they head to Nyayo Stadium, then to leave in home, and then later to Kasarani Stadium because there were changes. I mean, it's like a king's homecoming, but this time the king is coming in a totally different form.
Thank you so much. And this really speaks to the kind of man that the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, we call him Baba, others call him Tinga, and we call him Jacom as well. We call him Agwambo, the mysterious gentleman.
Yes.
You might think he's in this room, but actually he's not in this room, you know. And when you see these kind of crowds, it really speaks to his mystery. And it's a crowd that gravitates from across the country because you can see the number of formations, the organized groupings of people who are mourning Mheshimiwa Right Honorable Raila Odinga all over. And it means therefore that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, as others have said, and I'll repeat, is the people's president, the president that Kenya never had. And indeed, as he left the country to go to India, we probably had thought that in the same manner that he flew out, he would fly back in, alive and kicking. But unfortunately, with God's own doing, he's coming back in a casket. And it therefore means that the kind of love that people have for Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga is one that you really cannot equate to anything, particularly and almost even to anyone in this country. This crowd reminds me of a crowd that I saw, and I was part of that crowd that time when you were saying Baba while you were away. Because it's a crowd that showed the kind of hope that people had in Raila Odinga at that time to be able to deliver them from whatever sufferings that they were going through. And Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga has actually stood up as a people's servant, that when things are not going on well, you cry to him, you call up to him, and he shows up. And today is more or less like a celebration of the persona of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. And people are saying that, yes, we have to go out there and show ourselves in the might of our numbers and also in our expression. And I'm really impressed by KDF and the officers that are managing this, because under no circumstances would you allow for crowds to malinga and gallivant over a coffin. And I've seen videos and people sharing their personal feelings, and it therefore shows that even up to the level of our security forces, the people who are manning this particular program they also resonate with the kind of feelings and the kind of celebration of a king that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga has been to the people of Kenya. And so our desire and hope is that this kind of celebration will move on to be able to excite government to do the right things in the manner and the spirit of Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, so that this does not end on the 7th day of the mourning period, but that even the president, given the kind of gesture that he has showed, because he started this particular process by saying all flags in both locally and internationally have to fly half-mast.
Yes.
The national, public servant vehicles that are flying flags, some action has to be done. And that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga will be given a state burial. So already the president is also showing that kind of a celebration of a gentleman that indeed cuts across. And finally, Robinson, we sometimes ask ourselves, how is it possible that people just come out of nowhere, and they want to associate with Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga? Whether it is the Mandamano Tuesdays or Thursdays, whether it's, Baba Wailio, wherever he goes to in his public rallies, you can see. One time we had a function in Kajiado, at the heart of Kajiado, and I met a gentleman who told me he's a former military officer.
Yes.
And that he had never interacted with a brown Luo. So he asked me, where do you come from? I told him, I come from here. So interestingly, even knew our place, which is about 32 minutes from Kango Kajaramogi and Opoda Farm, where Raila Amolo Odinga comes from. And he actually picked his phone call and he called Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga in my presence. I was like, wow, at the heart of Kajiado.
Yes.
So from there, he began sharing how much he knows Mheshimiwa Raila and their personal, pleasantries, etc. So the numbers that we are seeing on the crowds are not just political people. They're not just members of ODM party or Azimio as a formation or broad-based government. But these are people who resonate and associate with the suffering that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga has gone through, and really the kind of space that he carves for the common citizen. And that is why I'm sure that people have come out in huge numbers to be able to even have a number of activities moved from one area to another area like
Kevin,
Kasarani.
when you woke up in the morning, did you expect to see such a mammoth crowd at the airport? Did you expect that? Because for me, I expected probably at Parliament buildings where we were to have the, the public viewing of the body. That is where I expected to have such a huge crowd. And remember, the public viewing has been moved to Kasarani.
Yeah.
And when you woke up in the morning, did you expect to see that mammoth crowd in the morning when you woke up?
To be honest, I would say yes. Because I did not imagine that there are people who, especially...
And as you talk about that,
yes,
the pictures on the screen, that is Kasarani. It's already almost
already
full.
packed, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I expected that the unfortunate thing, and that had been my worry, and I was telling someone for the last 5 years I have been asking myself, on that day, when the Lord himself calls Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, how will it look like? What kind of management will happen in that facility, whether it's a hospital or at home or wherever? And so one of the things that I made a prayer about, and I said, God, let him, if he has to pass on, let it happen outside Kenya. Because then it becomes easy to manage. And that is what God has done. Because had it been, say, for example, at Karen, and you even saw Karen when the announcement came out yesterday, it was already getting very difficult. Look at Lee Funeral right now. If it probably happened at Nairobi Hospital, I don't think these people would even have allowed an announcement to happen that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga has passed on. So it is a good thing that it happened outside the country and that the president made the announcement yesterday together with our lovely Mama Ida and the team that was in charge of that. And therefore that gave time for people to, plan, organize, and think how we would therefore be able to receive Baba's body. And as I was saying again earlier on, it is a good thing that KDF has allowed Kenyans to mourn Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, and the president has allowed it to happen in this manner. Because these numbers are people who even are able to take over this body and run with it to wherever they want to go with it. But so the kind of activations that we see happening, the kind of celebrations and even the mourning that we see, is indeed a celebration that I am sure is also a way of telling Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, thank you for the person that you have been. Because the moments when Kenyans think that they are suffering, when things are not working, he comes out as that person who is the people's spokesman, the enigma himself, the Baba himself, the people's servant and the people's spokesman. So this is also a means of saying thank you. So
well, live pictures from Kasarani right there on the right end of your screen, and of course the crowd management has become a challenge there at the moment. Police officers and GSU officers trying to contain the crowd that has gathered at the Kasarani Stadium at the moment, and of course we've seen one person falling from a moving vehicle. Hopefully he's okay, and as Kevin has said, people have come out to celebrate the life of Raila Odinga, but it should be done with decorum. It should be done with discipline. Those are pictures on the right side of your screen, coming on the left side of the screen, coming from Kasarani, and hopefully the crowd that has gathered there will try and show some discipline as we honor the legacy of Raila Odinga, who passed away yesterday in India, and his body was brought to Kenya this morning, and he's expected to be buried on Sunday in Bondo. And remember, the state burial will be held tomorrow at the Nyayo Stadium, and hopefully the people that have gathered at the Kasarani will exercise some discipline as they wait for the viewing of the body. But at the moment, the procession is along Mombasa Road, heading towards Nyayo Stadium, and from there they will head to Lee Memorial Home, that is the Lee Funeral Home, and after that, that is when the body will head to the Kasarani Stadium. Now remember, earlier on, we had several mourners outside the Parliament buildings who were waiting to view the body of the late Raila Odinga, but after they heard that, there has been a detour and the public viewing will be held at the Kasarani, they immediately moved from there. But at the same time, business in the central business district came to a standstill because people were not sure of what was going to happen, if the public viewing was going to be happening there. But at the moment, the procession is outside the Standard Group PLC. Those pictures are coming live to you. The procession heading to the Lee Funeral Home. Just at the moment, they are just passing the Standard Group along Mombasa Road. And as you can see, thousands of people that turned out at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport are in that procession, making sure that they get, of course, to be part of this occasion, to be part of that procession that gives Baba his final rights. They want to be part of history. They want to be there to say that one day or rather to say that I was there when Baba Raila Odinga arrived at the JKIA and was being taken to the Lee Funeral Home, and then for public viewing at the Kasarani. I was there during that time on the 16th of October 2024, and you can see they came out, or October 2025 rather, they came out in large numbers, and they are currently passing outside the Standard Group. And Kevin, before I come to Mr. Speaker, Kevin, yes, this is a number that I don't think even the government envisioned this to happen today.
I honestly do not think that they envisioned, because had that probably had been the case, then I think because yesterday the president had indicated that they also had a National Security Council meeting, and I suspect that they probably discussed beyond just the military taking over the burial arrangements, etc. Probably there was no serious thoughts around the crowd control, because I remember listening to, after we left this place late in the evening, I listened to the co-chair of the burial planning committee saying that Kenyans are advised to watch this through screens, that they would be positioned elsewhere, and that they don't have to throng JKIA. But I do not think that with that kind of background, the government probably thought that Kenyans would wake up and flood JKIA and be there in such huge numbers.
Yes.
I remember that earlier on, there are even those who were asking to be allowed to get into the presidential pavilion, where then the body of the former prime minister would be lowered and received. And I was quite surprised and utterly amazed that they allowed for big numbers, to get into
the airport.
Yeah, and I think that already began the sense of openness that the government has. And I think that probably where the president is seated and is also being briefed or watching and seeing what is happening, he's saying that, I think that I've given Kenyans an opportunity to be able to mourn their king, their hero, the enigma, Baba, Tinga, Amolo, Baba Fidel, etc. And that already, in my view, is a very positive sentiment, because assuming that they locked out people, we'd be talking about deaths right now, because these are people that you cannot block. So probably the police would be shooting. I am very excited that we have not seen, at least in the latest hours, any senses of tear gassing, and some sense of misbehavior. But as you rightfully said, Robinson, it's important that Kenyans behave with a lot of decorum, so that Baba, wherever he is lying, is also not angry that people are pickpocketing, people are fighting, or people are being injured. So from government's planning, this already also allows them to begin to think through what will happen in Kisumu tomorrow, and even in Bondo, when ultimately, because I assume that some of these people even probably traveled from all over the country, or even all over Africa, and that some of them would also begin, get to journeys that head towards Bondo. If you were to do Easy Coach right now, I don't think you'd get a ticket. If you were to go to any of our bus companies that ply, those long-distance areas, or even a friend of mine who is supposed to attend a funeral on Friday, tomorrow, in Ahero, was already telling me that they cannot get air tickets, to Kisumu. So it already shows that the government should be planning and preparing to beef up security in the other stops, that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga's body would be either stopped for viewing, or would therefore be stationed as he leads towards his final resting space.
Yes, remember, security has been beefed up at the Kasarani Stadium, and a few minutes ago I saw Senator Eddie Okeche trying to calm down the people that are at the Kasarani Stadium, and at the moment we also have the GSU officers trying to talk to the people at the Kasarani Stadium, telling them to calm down and, at least be calm as they wait for the body of Raila Odinga to arrive there. But the procession currently along Mombasa Road, almost getting to Airtel, and then they will head to Nyayo Stadium. From Airtel, it's South Sea, along Bellevue, and then at Nyayo Stadium. From there, they will be heading to the Lee Funeral Home, and then after that, it will be heading to Kasarani Stadium. Mr. Speaker, when we started the conversation, you said with the death of Raila Odinga, we have become poorer. What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, let me just appeal to Kenyans that this is a very fragile time for us. I would appeal to every Kenyan to restrain from doing anything that would make him or her either lose his or her life or the lives of Kenyans. We want every Kenyan alive. We want to celebrate the life of Raila Amolo Odinga when we are alive. I wish to appeal to all Kenyans. Let us do everything possible to ensure that we are an orderly society. We keep order. We ensure we give this hero a dignified send-off. We give him the best we can muster as a people. I wish to give credit to the security agencies for not attempting to use any force restrain the people who came in their thousands and invaded places where ordinarily they are not supposed to be. Credit to them. But as that credit goes, Kenyans, please give this hero a dignified send-off. I said we are the poorer for it. And I mean it. And it is real. We are the poorer for it. We will never get another Raila Odinga. Let me tell you, 3 times this country came to a brink of war because of the recklessness of those who manage our electoral system. 2007, 2008 was the beginning. And there comes Raila Odinga, who had justification to say that he won that election. He was justified to claim and to think that he won that election. In the end, he left his ambition to ensure that Kenyans did not go to war. They were likely to go to war. You remember, we lost a lot of lives in 2007, 2008. But he calmed the storms, like I said in that book. He calmed the storm.
Yes.
And although we died, our Kenyans died in 2007, 2008 in numbers that we have not seen before.
Yes.
He prevented the magnitude that would have been. I don't think you will get a fellow like that who will shelve his ambition to save the country. That was the first time. Second time was in the last term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And you know, 2017. And there was again a justification that he won. He wasn't wild in the dream that he won. There were justifications for the claim. And Kenyans were angry, justifiably angry, that yet again, this gentleman has been denied his rightful place to lead this country. And you know, he had a huge following across the country. It was not ethnic, it was not regional, it was across the country.
Yes.
And yet again, for the second time, he justifiably saw that Kenya was much more important than him.
In your book, Memoirs, in your memoir rather of Calming the Storm, do you have a chapter that you dedicated to Raila?
No, I didn't dedicate it to him, and neither did I dedicate it to any particular individual.
Yes.
Because as you can see, it's quite a small thing. But in my heart, he is dedicated. Yesterday, let me come back to about this crowd. Yesterday,
yes,
in the morning, very early in the morning, about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, when I first heard the news, I went to his home to say pole to Mama.
Yes.
And I was there for a while. And as I got there, people were already building up. When I left there about 2 hours later, you just couldn't move in or out. So it was foreseeable. Anybody, if I was in security agencies, I would foresee that there would be a turnout unheard of before. It was foreseeable. You could see yesterday how it was headed to Keren, and also late evening, also headed to Leaf in home or Nairobi Hospital, which is the place that was expected to be brought tomorrow, not then. If they could come a day before, why wouldn't you expect that they would be there in their thousands? But let's also face reality. Reality is, what would you do? And I think what they did to let be the situation as it is, is the best you could do in the circumstances. And I give them my accolades. But let's do better next time. You know, this is not the first time you've seen a crowd associated with Raila. See, when he went away for a few months and returned to Kenya, thousands of Kenyans went to the airport to receive him, and apparently to brief him on what happened while he was away.
Kevin was part of the procession.
I understand you are part of that. But I watched on TV. If they could come in those thousands, just to welcome him back after 3 months of absence, it wasn't forced. You know, it would have been different if he had gone on exile, so he was returning, or he had gone sick and he is coming like Matiba did. This is a guy who just went out and stayed for 3 months, and there he comes, and the whole group was out there. What about when his casket is being brought in? When are people more emotional? When you are alive or when you are dead?
When you die, people become more emotional.
So they become more emotional. And because people become more emotional in circumstances like this, then you should know that something is coming. Don't ask me what I would have done if I was the one in charge, because I am not, and I wish I am not, because this is a very difficult thing. Finally, for me, I repeat, to you Kenyans, wherever you are, we have lost a hero. We have lost somebody who has fought for us for a long, long time. The least we can do as a country is to give him a dignified send-off. Let's avoid anything and everything that can bring damage to the country, pain to fellow Kenyans, or death to fellow Kenyans. I appeal for order from across the breadth and length of this country. And you know, Kenyans, I believe you listen to me. Please listen to me. Hear that plea I'm making to you. Let's be an orderly society. Let's give him a decent send-off.
Mr. Speaker,
he is entitled to it. Mr.
Speaker, let me cut you short a bit. I want us to cross over to Kasarani Stadium, and we do have Francis Ontomwa on phone. Francis, I mean, we've seen a big crowd gathered at the Kasarani Stadium, and we've seen, of course, the top leadership of the ODM get to the Kasarani Stadium. I mean, we are wondering here in studio how difficult it is to manage that crowd. Francis.
Of Kenya, and we are grappling with a huge crowd that has been forming slowly by the minute. And as we are speaking right now, they are moving and chanting all across the stadium, demanding to see the body of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And so it's a bit chaotic here, and I'm also wondering on how this program will go on as it was scheduled. You remember that that notification came out that all procession now would lead to Kasarani Stadium. And that is why we've seen crowds moving all the way through Thika Road. We met hundreds of people moving all along, coming, of course, ending here at the Kasarani Stadium. As you see, right now, law enforcers are trying to take charge. We're seeing lots of General Service Unit officers all across the stadium trying to contain the situation in a way. As you can see, the crowd keeps forming. You are seeing the leadership from the ODM, the pictures we're relaying to you, having come here. You've seen the Secretary General of the party. You've seen Siaya Governor James Orengo. You've seen Mombasa Governor Ahmed Nasir, Sharif Nasir rather. They're all here, of course, trying to calm down this crowd, but it's really tough to contain the crowd. They're all chanting, carrying leaves, carrying twigs here and there. They're all asking to be able to see the body of the late Prime Minister. And therefore, at this point, you can see it's a really charged crowd. They are carrying vuvuzelas, some of them using all manner of tools really to try and reach out and make their voice known here. So that's the situation. That's the situation going here at Kasarani Stadium. We are still waiting whether we will get official word on how we are proceeding from here.
Yes, Ontomwa, I thought with the arrival of the top brass in ODM, I could at least, calm them down, but that doesn't seem to be the situation.
That is the thing of Kenya. We've seen Siaya Governor, actually we think Siaya Governor is right in the middle of the Kasarani Stadium here, trying to speak to people and appealing to them that let's follow through this process, let's give Baba the respect that he deserves in his last moment. But it's really tough to control the crowd. Right now, as you can see right now, the pictures we are relaying can be able to show you that the General Service Unit, police units, and even electoral police officers have taken charge. They're trying to put up a body barrier so that people are not coming closer to the VIP pavilion, trying to appease them to have some order so that we can communicate. At this point, there is communication breakdown because even the podium, initially there was an MC who was taking charge of affairs, but right now it's all silent except for the chants that we can hear from the background of this stadium.
Ontomwa, at the moment, the picture that we are having, of course, the ODM Secretary General, that is Erin Sifuna, trying to speak to the mourners who are the center of the pitch. But are the stands also full?
The stands are quite full. The stands are quite full, especially closer to the VIP section. But the other sections are a bit empty, but crowds are moving in. You're seeing there is a section that is well settled. There is a section that people have settled and they're waiting to hear what next. But largely the crowd that is a bit problematic is the one that is in the middle of the stadium. That is really tough to control. There is a lot of rumors going around here on where the body of the late former Prime Minister is. Is it already here in Kasarani? Is it at Embakasi? Is it still at JKIA? These are all questions that are being floated here by the mourners. But as you can see, they are quite peaceful. We haven't seen a lot of confrontation, except for the push and pull a bit here, but it's all largely peaceful here. And you can tell that all these people have come here for one mission, really to mourn the departed leader, and nothing really much. You haven't seen much of a security situation, except that now crowds are surging closer to the main pavilion. You can see the leaders trying to calm them down, but they're really charged. They're not taking anything from the leaders, and we are not sure for how long this situation will last, but we're still waiting and waiting. We've seen people close to the president also around here. We've seen some of his aides around here. And we expect that maybe that could be an indication that perhaps calm and some order could now reign in and we proceed with the program.
Yes, Francis, of course, at the moment, the procession that is along Mombasa Road has gotten to South Sea, that is at Bellevue, heading to Nyayo Stadium, and probably they are waiting for that. But what can you say about crowd control that you've seen today at the Kasarani Stadium?
Well, largely it is the General Service Unit who are taking charge, as I indicated, and we are seeing lots of also plainclothes officers. So what they are trying to do here is to protect the main pavilion. The main pavilion is where the VIPs will be addressing this crowd from. And therefore, they have tried to put a human shield trying to guard. No one is being allowed into that section. even for the members of the media who are here, they're being badged to sit on the other pavilions that are outside the VIP section, just to try and see whether they can restore some order here. But I can confirm to you, Okenye, that there is total confusion here. The plan, things that had been put in place here doesn't seem to work, and we've seen a shift of affairs. We were expecting the viewing of the body to happen at Parliament. We were told now it has shifted to Kasarani. And you can just see and read the chaos here in terms of planning, in terms of intelligence. That is one question. I've just been interacting with some people here who are raising the question of intelligence, that this is not a small affair, and someone ought to have seen that this was going to be something that would get out of hand to this extent. Therefore, someone ought to have come up with some stopgap measures to ensure that the program still is able to flow. So as we speak, that is the situation, Kenya, and still waiting to see what kind of order will be restored here. But as we speak right now, really there is not a scintilla of hope that there will be order, because the crowds are coming, no one is addressing them, and confusion is all around at the main pavilion. So it's just a wait-and-see game here at Kasarani, Kenya.
Yes, thank you very much, Francis Ontomo at the Kasarani Stadium. We'll be coming back to you later on as we continue this coverage of that procession of the body of the late Raila Odinga as they head to Leo Funeral Home and then later on to the Kasarani Stadium. At the moment, they are at South Sea, Bellevue area, heading to town. And of course, after from South Sea, they go to Nyayo Stadium. From there, they head to Lee. And then we will be waiting to see at what time they will be heading to the Kasarani Stadium. And Kevin, as we continue with this conversation. Oh, yes. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
I hadn't finished.
Yes.
And maybe you are recalling the days when my business was to listen, not to talk.
Order.
It did have an effect on how we managed our country.
Yes.
But I had reached the position when I said again, when there was a dispute between Raila winning and Uhuru winning, against all odds, he came out and said Kenya is better than him, and shook hands with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he made enemies along the way because of that.
Yes.
And that is public. And finally, of course, the last election, 2022. In that last election, I was in his advisory committee, and again, we all thought he had won, and again, those in authority who made the decision as to who won thought he didn't, or decided he didn't, and again, you know, the country was ready to go to breaking point, to go to war because of that. And again, against all odds, here he comes. Against all odds, he comes out and says, the country is bigger and better than me. He shook hands with the President Ruto, and did so at the time when this country was quite at the brink. You remember the rise of the Gen Zs. And if Raila Odinga didn't ask for peace, if he joined by 1 minute, if he said one thing to the Gen Zs, let's go on, let's proceed, you would not be speaking the way you are speaking today. We would be a totally different society by now. That is something that not ordinary souls do. That's why I said he's extraordinary. And believe you me, I have watched a lot of politicians. I have listened to them. I know them personally. I know. We haven't had, we are likely to have soon, anybody of that caliber. Prove me wrong. Maybe, let me pray. Yes. Let me just pray and pray to God that God give us a leader who will always seek the peace for the Kenyans and forget about his own greatness. Almighty God, let's have another one.
Yes, the pictures on the left side of the screen, Kasarani, and on the other side, it's along Thika Road and not South Sea, as I had earlier said, but it's along Thika Road. They're heading to the Kasarani Stadium, and probably that is why most people are eagerly waiting for the body to arrive at the Kasarani Stadium. So they are on Thika Road at the moment, heading to Kasarani Stadium, and we are just keeping a close eye on that. At the moment, they are at Allsops, heading to Kasarani Stadium. So we are keeping a close eye on that. And remember, we'll be crossing over to Francis Ontomo, who's at the Kasarani Stadium. We get to hear from him what the leaders have told the people that are in the stadium. But we continue with that conversation on the legacy of Raila Odinga. And Kevin, yes, not often do we see a person or a politician that is not in the government this powerful.
Very true.
Than somebody, than most people that are in the government.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's probably why the president yesterday, during his address to the nation, actually referred to Odinga as the most consequential politician of our time.
Yes.
Because this is a gentleman who dies at 80, but for the last almost 50 years, of his public life that has been known and that we are now eulogizing,
yes,
has been fighting for the masses. And I'm looking forward to seeing anyone who probably will tell us that this is Raila, who was Raila the businessman, or Raila during his education career, etc. But the much that we know about Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga is that he's been out there for the people. And so if you talk about 30 of the 80 years or 50 of the 80 years that he has lived, and he's really done massive things that people can resonate to. And that is why we see the masses of the people out there. And even as Mr. Speaker says that we do not imagine of having any other. I agree with him in total, because this is a gentleman who decides that tomorrow is a public holiday.
And it's a holiday.
And that's it. There's nothing you will do about it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Whether he appears in person or he does not appear, he just needs to say, hey, sure, civil. And that's it. You cannot argue with it. You cannot, debate it. There's nothing much you can do about it. Runs for elections and loses 5 times the presidential vote. And those 5 times become very meaningful to our electoral, political, and governance. So that he says that we are going to go analog. And that's what it is. Whether the law says it is digital or analog, Baba has said we are going analog. The Supreme Court says we are going for 2 elections. And Baba says, I'm not interested, I am not going. I have won the election. If you think I didn't win the election, why do you want to subject me to another vote? And he decides not to go. And that's what it is.
From a governance point of view, Kevin,
yes.
I mean, how did he manage to reinvent himself on 5 different occasions? I mean, you try the first time, you finish third, you try again. I mean, for most people, they will normally give up. But this is a man who managed to reinvent himself, change the image, and again, go for presidency. A man that people loved, and in 3 occasions, he came close to becoming the president.
And it really just reminds me of Raila Odinga, the man beyond the ballot. So you can't cocoon him to a ballot and say this election is who you are and this is what it's going to be. And it really reminds me of a few of the moments that I had an occasion, together with a number of us out there, to brief Raila Odinga on the political strategy mobilization for the youth in 2013 and also in 2017, and even around the Building Bridges initiative, when we of course noted that there were no youth in the task force. And a few of us approached the co-chair, the secretariat, the leaders of the secretariat, and we informed them that we have a strategy that we can be able to share with government on how to deal with this BBI issue.
Yes.
And we had a few moments to engage with Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. But in those rooms, you meet people who are not on the streets right now. So beyond the people that we are seeing on the streets are also masses of businessmen and women, owners of empires, who also relate with Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. So in terms of governance, then you begin to ask yourself, what is his spirit around what is good for the future? And as Mr. Speaker rightfully said, it really behoves us to be able to begin to think through the spirit of Raila Odinga in terms of pushing forward the governance agenda. What would he think about devolution? Because he's also touted to be the father of the model of our Kenyan democracy and devolved governance in this country. What would that mean in the spirit of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga? As we do our by-elections today and ahead of 2027 elections, what kind of an electoral process that is really transparent, accountable, free, fair, effective, efficient, that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga would really wish for? So yes, there are lessons that we can be able to learn from his many attempts, but in terms of the governance space, it is very, very important for us to look at the spirit of the Kenyan people, to merge it together with the spirit of Raila Odinga, that spirit of accountability. So that, for example, we look at what the government, the BBG government would be able, the broad-based government would be able to do, to be able to not only pacify the spirit of Raila Odinga, but also to live those dreams and the desires that he had for the people of Kenya.
Just a few minutes ago, we saw Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino joining the mourners at the Kasarani Stadium. And of course, Kevin, from what we've seen, him having his fists in the air and joining the mourners, and they were celebrating him. Do you feel like probably it's a passing of the torch? Or is it too early to call it? Is it too early to call it? Too early to call it.
Babu is my friend. I think it's too early to call it because one, the ODM party has just mentioned Mheshimiwa Raila as brother, my senator, Oburu Odinga as Oburu Oginga rather as the acting
as you can see on the screen, the youth are climbing up to go to where Babu Owino is at the moment, and it's like they've shifted. All of them have gone to where he is at the moment. So of course this is something that we'll talk about on a different occasion, not today. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Just before we leave the subject you had asked my friend here.
Yes.
What sustained Raila, even after losing 5 elections? There's something that sustained him. And that's something, until we get rid of it, we'll never be at peace. And that is injustice. Ordinarily, people sympathize with a person who is perceived to have been an underdog and snatched his right or her right. That's a natural human tendency, that if you take something away from me, people tend to sympathize with me and condemn you. All right?
Yes.
So those who forcibly take things away from others unfairly, unjustifiably create heroes. And they make themselves enemies of the people. That's one. The second one is a society that feels that the government is not doing right to them. Now, if the government is perceived by the public not doing the right things or giving them their rights and is perceived to be oppressive, then people will look for somebody who will speak for them. And Raila has spoken over many years for the voiceless. And any individual today, as we bury Raila, who will appear to be the voice of the voiceless, will capture the public imagination. Mark my words today. That person will capture the public imagination. The second thing is that to be able to be Raila, you had to be brave. He went through hell, even as a youngster. I don't think there was anybody detained as long as he was. I don't think there was anybody detained as long as he was by an independent government. I don't think there's anybody who has, in the eyes of the public, been denied the right place given to him by the public like Raila. 3 times.
Correct.
Raila must have won. I can say it now. Must have won. But denied. And you know, whichever way you look at it, ordinary souls will empathize for the oppressed. He did a lot of good. I remember, we talked a lot of times with him about the distribution of resources to areas that have been left aside for a long time. And that, by the way, is what gave birth to the national, to what was called in my time, I don't know what they call it now, they called it the Constituency Development Fund. That was the genesis. The genesis of CDF, or the Constituency Development Fund, was to right the wrongs of a government which left a lot of areas unjustifiably unfunded, either because of their bad politics, perceived bad politics, or on occasion because they don't have the numbers to sway the electoral process. That's why we said that thing. And the second one that came to him, and I can tell you we discussed that a lot with him.
Yes.
And the second one that he had passion, and I shared that passion, although you know you never see me in the street talking about these things, was to send resources by law to all corners of this country. And that is what is called devolution. Make it a law that a certain amount of resources, whether you like it or you don't, will go to every part of this country. So that you stop using what politicians call stick and carrot. And most of the time it was carrot, not stick. Most of the time the stick was absent, but the carrot was dangled all along. That's why when the stick is absent, you have a lot of indiscipline. And you have a lot of reaping of national resources, because the stick is and has been absent to punish those who reap the country. And you know, he thought hard about that. And you know, I think the best thing that those in authority can give to Raila is to manage the resources devolved properly and let it help the people. And I also appeal that this whole talk about be in government so that you get development should be removed from the lexicon and from the tongues of all politicians. The government belongs to every Kenyan, whether in the ruling party or in the opposition. And we all pay taxes. And for that reason, every Kenyan is and should be entitled to get a fair share of the national resources. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to kneel for it. You don't have to plead. It is your right. And I think that's what he said. That's what he believed. And I hope finally, that thought, that wish, as a memory to him, will be actualized by those who have the ability to do so. Those who are in charge of our resources. Give Kenyans fair resources wherever they are, whatever party they belong, and finally, give them also freedom to say whatever they please and do whatever they want to do within the law. And thirdly, let Kenyans elect whoever they want. And whoever Kenyans have decided is the person we want. Let every government institution honor the wishes of the Kenyan people, beginning from the electoral body and to the Supreme Court and every other organ of state that decides what happens to Kenyans. Kenyans have a right to make a decision for themselves, and they don't have to beg.
Kevin, just a moment. Of course, the procession heading to Kasarani, almost getting to the stadium at the moment. And also joining us and joining this conversation is Amin Mwidau. Good afternoon, Amin. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are taking a look at what is happening at the Kasarani Stadium. And of course, we are eulogizing Raila Odinga, who died yesterday, an enigma in this country, a man who stood with the people for a very long time. He attempted presidency for 5 times, of which he did not win. And, he's going to be given a state funeral tomorrow, has been declared a public holiday by the CS for Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen. What are your thoughts on the first time you encountered, or rather you had an encounter with Raila Odinga? Well, we'll be getting back to Amin in a bit. Amin, what is your first memory of the first time that you met Raila Odinga? Well, it seems we'll be getting back to Amin in a bit. Kevin, as we continue with this conversation, and we've seen that, the procession is almost getting into the stadium, and thousands still are following that vehicle that is carrying the body of the late Raila Odinga. There's something that always stood out with Raila. He was a man that knew how to connect with the people, how to connect with the crowd. That is how he came up with die-hard fans, that people that could actually go to war for him. And he had this mastery of coining, phrases that will always remain etched in your brain.
Sometimes I think that the Lord God himself was guiding Raila. And a number of times he would say, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, and people think it's a joke, that the voice of the people is a... But the moment Baba gets over to the crowd, you wonder where he would get some of the things that he would say. And whenever he said them, that was really the crust of what the people wanted to hear.
Yes.
So later it would be like, you people don't know these people. I know them better than you do. And sometimes, therefore, people have asked, what does a Gwambu mean? It's just a mysterious one. Earlier on, I said you'd think he's in this room, but actually he's not there. Because the numbers of the people, the masses, the networks, the organized groups that Baba worked with across the globe They are the kind of semblance of people that we are now seeing on the streets. And therefore, in my view, speaks about a gentleman who listened to the crowd, a gentleman who listened to the wishes of the people, a gentleman who was willing, as Mr. Speaker says, to really give space to the minority. And you see, even in the broad-based government, when he was asked for ministers, for cabinet secretaries, he picked a lady from
Turkana.
some place that nobody probably even ever thought that a cabinet secretary in the regime of 2022 would come from Turkana. And that speaks about a man who really understood the heartbeat of people, and he knew how to engage, particularly in terms of listening to the ground and also speaking and going for. And I think that even as he's going to be buried, the promises of the things that Mheshimiwa William Ruto and the former Prime Minister spoke about that were captured in the Memorandum of Understanding between ODM and UDA, that therefore formed the broad-based government. Up to almost 2 weeks ago, you would hear Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo asking, how far are we with this? How far are we with that? It means, therefore, that he's a gentleman who really had a heart for the people and not just for himself. And then sometimes, I know it will bother people to even wonder, how come, therefore, he is followed by almost everyone? It is because I don't remember even the few moments I had an encounter as Kevin Osido with Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, where he asked anyone away, even his security personnel. You would go and say, can I get a chance to whisper something to Baba? And you'd actually be given that opportunity. And so this kind of huge masses that we are seeing, as I said, is a celebration of an enigma, a celebration of an icon, a man who, stood out for the people. And I'm sure that wherever he is lying, he is saying that, yes, I think I did my bit, and the people are showing that appreciation by turning out in good numbers. Probably just what might be a challenge, because we are talking about, earlier on you asked about this crowd management and all that. And if you likened this to the political rallies that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga used to have, I think maybe there's just a bit of a confusion, because I imagined that is how it should have been planned. So that, for example, right now, to pacify the crowd, what I would do, because you asked the speaker, what I would do, I would just play music. Baba, Baba, Tinga, make the crowd feel happy.
He's also a man who likes music.
Exactly. Play those voices. Higher, higher. And that way, people feel they are seeing Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga there. And as they dance, you're able to also do your thing. As opposed to, some of these people have not slept since 1 a.m. last night. They were on the road headed to JKIA. They have not had breakfast. They've been waiting there until 9:34 when Baba landed. They've not had lunch. They've been on the streets. No one is giving them any bottles of water. They are showing the resilience of Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. But now they are imagining you are coming with your black and white suits, and a tie. You are looking good. You have had your breakfast. You've had your lunch, and here we are. As Babu is even saying, Yamazeni, Linguru, Beduru, Gimos, they are saying, yeah, we listen to you, but no one is minding us. If Raila Odinga would have been here, he would have done this thing differently. And I think there is a lesson there for that, even as we move towards the other huge, massive crowds that we are going to be having, is something that needs to be done. People like Philip Itali, they need to come up and take over. I know it will be difficult, because now this is a military managed, process. But there is no problem in consultations. Speak it over with Mheshimiwa Oburu. I know he's also very busy and might not be reached very easily. But those ideas, I'm sure right now there are mechanisms to share. That yes, we need a very powerful public address system. We need some of those DJs that used to play Baba's songs, We need those Buffalo Soldier songs for Azimio and NASA and all that, so that the crowd begin to see. Because even when the official processes begin, Robinson, we know that these people will not have an opportunity to speak. Only a few people are going to speak. So allow them to enjoy the ceremony of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Allow them to celebrate and to feel like, yes, finally we have celebrated the enigma, Tinga, Baba Fidel, Agwambo himself.
There's pictures on your TV, the body headed into the Kasarani Stadium. It's gotten to Kasarani, but now they are heading into the main stadium. And, of course, followed by lots of mourners who have accompanied the body since it left JKIA in the morning. And remember, we are also joined with Amin Mwidau. Good afternoon, Amin. Thank you for joining us. Of course, he's joining us via Zoom. And Amin, if I may ask you, what's the first memory that you have of your interaction with the late Raila Odinga?
Thank you. I think the first time I had interactions with him was when he was starting up NDP, National Development Party. And at that particular occasion, he had visited Mombasa. And my memory of the occasion is of him during that particular instance is a person who was linked to the ground because he was very accessible to majority of the people who came to receive him, but also during his functions, including which lasted for an entire day. He was an ordinary person for an extraordinary person that we know today. He had strong links, and personal relationships with a lot of individuals. And that speaks to his longevity and his ability to the different political environments during his entire time that he was able to influence the Kenyan political landscape.
Aside from that, I know you've been in the diaspora, you've been in Canada for a while. I mean, what's the view of Raila from the diaspora side?
I think from the diaspora side, there's a lot of affection for most of the work that he was known to, especially on the area of expansion of the democratic space. Because the thing about the people in the diaspora is that they have a reference point in terms of looking at on matters regarding Kenya. So whenever they look at the political and democratic culture and value system, it's always in comparison to the Western world. So Raila has been known to have fought vigorously during his entire time to expand the political space, and that resulted in multi-party politics. That resulted in devolution of governance from a centralized model to a devolved system. So I think those are the main areas through which Kenyans in the diaspora will remember Raila for.
Yes, I mean, for all those years, you've said you've known him since, he was in NDP. What stood out for you, when you interacted with Raila? All those years that you've known him, what stood out for you?
I think, part of the attraction for Raila, especially the one that I see stood out very well, is his ability to adapt to different political environments. This is a person who has fought with so many different people. He fought with Moi, but eventually they became friends. He fought with Mwai Kibaki, but they eventually found a way to work together. He had serious political fallouts with both Uhuru and President Ruto, but he was able somehow to manage to cobble up friendships that moved the democratic space and development space ahead. So he was able to achieve quite a bit by not taking politics personally in terms of the interactions and the bruises that you come across as a politician. For other people, it would have been difficult to move on and make up with individuals who have been fierce competitors. So I think that is a trait that I think most Kenyans should learn, especially politicians, and be able to look at politics as a competition of ideas. People are competing on the best way to move the country forward, but not individual competition. So we have to remove the emotional aspect of politics from from our engagement. And I think he was able to navigate that particular pathway very effectively throughout his life.
So that is the voice of Amin Mwidau. We'll be coming back to you in a bit. Amin, of course, giving us the diaspora view, as well as, you know, what people in the diaspora think about Raila Odinga and what his legacy, of course, will be. And at the moment, at the Kasarani Stadium, we are just waiting for the vehicle that is carrying the body of the late Raila Odinga to get into the stadium, and probably we get to see what you know, structures have been put in place before the viewing of the body begins, because the numbers, or rather the number of people that have turned out at the Kasarani Stadium is way too high to control. So we're waiting to see how that is going to be done this afternoon. But we continue our conversation on the legacy of Raila Odinga with Kevin Osido and former National Assembly Speaker Francis Ole Kaparo. Mr. Speaker, the years since you say that, you know, you first met Raila Odinga in 1993 when he came into Parliament, and he was a long-serving member of Langata constituency that has now been, you know, divided into Langata and Kibra. All these years that he was in Parliament, how can you describe his contribution, you know?
Let me first of all go back again to the crowds.
Yes.
You know, we have had 3 presidents who have died. Beginning with Kenyatta.
Yes.
All of them have had their bodies viewed in Parliament. Kenyatta, Moi, and Kibaki.
Yes.
And also a vice president who we have lost, Kijana Wamalwa. They have all had their bodies viewed in Parliament. 3 of them presidents, one the vice president, and none of them attracted this crowd. Granted, we were also fewer during Kenyatta's death. And over time also, Moi and Mwai Kibaki were not very far. But we have never seen anything like this. And yet, this is not a precedent.
Yeah.
We have never seen a crowd as excited as this, as large as this, coming to view the body of a president. Yet, we are seeing this coming on to view the body of a person in his view and in the view of many Kenyans who was denied to be president. In essence, the Kenyans are coming to tell you guys that this guy was our president. You denied him, but we are now telling you he's our president. And if you are in doubt, bring your crowds.
Yeah.
Like this.
Where are your numbers?
Where are your numbers? I mean, that's what this crowd is saying.
Literally, things have come to a standstill.
They have come to a standstill. Yet this guy died peacefully. He didn't die through violence. If he died through violence, you could figure out the emotions. But he died peacefully.
Naturally.
This is the affection of a person the Kenyans think that he was denied his rightful place in the leadership of this country. And they are showing him in death that you have been our leader.
Mr. Speaker, just let's pause for a moment, because I want us to hear what is happening on the ground at Kasarani. The pictures coming courtesy of Azimio TV. Those are some of the pictures of what is happening at the Kasarani Stadium as the body heads into the main stadium. Of course, thousands are just accompanying the body and singing. And I mean, now that we are looking at the numbers that have turned out to come and witness what this procession of Raila Amolo Odinga that is headed to the Kasarani Stadium. Did you expect such a big, rather mammoth crowd to turn up for the day? Well, I mean, if you can hear me, my question is, did you expect such a mammoth crowd to turn out today as they joined the procession for the body of the late Raila Amolo Odinga as it heads into the Kasarani Stadium? Well, it seems that we can be getting through to Amin, but we continue with the conversation. Kevin, you were saying that now is the right moment for, you know, the people on ground to play those songs that Baba enjoyed listening to.
Precisely, because these are a crowd that is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And as you asked earlier on, and I think that we were able to confidently diversify the crowd of, the issue of crowd management and just the anticipation of the kind of numbers. But if you listened to Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, he was a lover of music. And he was very particular about the songs that he wanted to listen to. And even his political rallies, they were very clear around what songs to be able to be played at what time. So there were songs to usher him in as the convoy is arriving. There were songs to usher him in as he was heading to the stage. There were also songs that would be played within his speech. The moment he realized that the crowds are not, paying attention, something is unplanned is happening. They knew what songs to play. And
I remember one time when they had their Azimio rally, I think was it in Western, when the DJ played a wrong song.
And he said, DJ, see you, ile. And people were like, yeah, because that really is a kind of free environment that Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga expected for people, so that when things are not working, you bring in the leadership aspect and you think ahead of the people. And I think that for this particular, crowds that we are seeing, of course, part of the plan, I imagine, is to allow people to mourn Raila Amolo Odinga is in their natural form. But remember that ultimately this casket is going to get into Kasarani. And the question is going to be, and then what? Because to the political class, despite the fact that this is being managed by the military as well, is also a moment to shine. Where for those who want to take some pride in what they have done or how they behaved, or also to dispense their last respects to Agwambo, this would probably be that particular point. But fact of the matter and the truth on the ground is that not all of them will be able to speak. So this is the point at time when if it was properly planned,
yes,
then as the casket is arriving, you also have speeches going on. So you have even some members of the crowds coming in, identified in a, of course, just ask them, nani nataka kusema kitu kwa baba, and they come. You line them. That way people begin to see that they are appreciated, that they didn't waste their time. They are part of that particular process. So that when the casket comes in, when you tell them, sasa baba amefika, of course they will celebrate. Those who want to cry and moan like myself, we will do. But they know that this is a process that has been going on and that there is leadership that is already taking place and effect. So we allow the process to go on formally. So that organized respect that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga had would also be evident in the kind of, the last processes that lead towards his burial. But we are here and we thank God that we will be able to see when ultimately he gets into Kasarani. Yes, I know that Ontuoma told us that there is a section of the VIP that is not being interfered with and all that because it is protected and people can be able to see. But we have seen, if young men and women of this country are able to invade parliament, and Mr. Speaker here knows how protected parliament is, what is a VIP dais of a memorial service of receiving the body of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga? They will bring it down if they feel that they are not being appreciated and they are not being respected, which is what process should be happening as the casket is moving on to the ground. The politicians there should be taking leadership and organizing the crowd. The music should be playing and people, appreciate people like Babu, who the young men and women are seeing and they want to move close to him. Give them the opportunity to speak and come down there and tell them, we are biroka, we have come here, we want to give Baba our last respects, etc. Then that way they begin to hear voices that they can be able to relate to and they will come down. But as it is right now, I don't think so. It will be so difficult, and the military will not do anything. Just as we saw at the airport, they were able to break in the diocese, and even here at Kasarani, we have seen GSU putting human shields. I don't think it is going to last long. And the moment Baba gets into Kasarani, and as we can already see, I think they are just at the walls of getting into the entrance of Kasarani Stadium. It will be so difficult, even to pave the path and way for him to get to where he's expected to be put.
Let's listen in to the sounds from the ground at the Kasarani. Remember, the body has just gotten to closer to the gate that allows you to go to the VIP entrance at the Kasarani Stadium, and they have stopped just right there, and there are numbers of people that are outside there. They wanted to be part of this process. They want to be part of the history. So let's listen to the sounds from the ground.